Okay, so this is a story that sounds like it was ripped straight out of a Hollywood movie. It's a mystery that had the world's top cybersecurity experts just scratching their heads, completely stumped.
So picture this. It's January 2022. An entire country just blinks offline. I mean, government websites, email servers, all their propaganda portals, poof, gone. North Korea's already tiny little connection to the rest of the world was just completely cut.
Immediately, the speculation just went wild. You have to remember, North Korea had just been conducting a bunch of missile tests, so everyone's first thought was pretty clear. This has to be a massive cyber attack from another country. Was it US Cyber Command sending a warning? Maybe a rival nation trying to flex its muscles? The whole world was looking for a state-sponsored actor.
But the actual truth, well, as it so often is, it was way, way stranger than that. It wasn't a government. It wasn't some secret intelligence agency. It was something else entirely.
So to really understand what went down, we have to rewind the clock by about a year. Because this isn't just a story about a cyber attack. It's a story about revenge. So let's meet our main character, an independent American cybersecurity researcher who goes by the handle P4X. And his story doesn't begin as the hunter. It begins with him as the hunted. It all kicked off in January of 2021. North Korean spies tried to hack him, personally, with a malicious file. It was part of this bigger campaign they were running against Western experts. So P4X did what you're supposed to do. He reported it. An FBI agent even took a statement. And then, crickets. Nothing. Weeks turned into months of just absolute radio silence.
And this quote from him, it just gets right to the heart of it. He felt completely on his own, totally abandoned. I mean, as a private citizen who was just attacked by a foreign government, he figured somebody would help, but that help never came. And that feeling of frustration, well, that became the fuel for everything that was about to happen. So P4X basically decided that if no one else was going to do anything about it, then he would. He flipped the script. He went from being the victim to being the investigator. And he turned all of his attention to the very country that came after him.
He started quietly, from his own home, just poking around, testing North Korea's tiny slice of the internet. And what he found was, well, to put it mildly, it was pretty shocking.
You know, he was genuinely surprised by how simple it was to find weaknesses. As he put it himself, this was no digital fortress, not even close.
He discovered their entire internet setup was basically a digital house of cards. Their systems were running on ancient, unpatched software. Think about it like having a building with security flaws that have been publicly known for years. These weren't some secret, sophisticated vulnerabilities. This was the digital equivalent of leaving your front door unlocked with a sign that says welcome.
So, armed with all this knowledge, P4X cooked up a plan. A one-man counteroffensive against one of the most isolated countries on the entire planet.
Now, his weapon of choice was something called a denial of service attack, or DOS for short. Let's be clear, this isn't about stealing secrets or data, it's just digital brute force. The whole idea is to flood a server with so much junk traffic that it just gets overwhelmed and shuts down. His strategy was just ruthlessly efficient. He wrote his own custom scripts that automated the whole thing. They would just scan for North Korea's weak servers and then just hammer them with exploits over and over again. It was basically a digital guerrilla war, and he was running it from his home office. And this is where the story just gets completely surreal. Because while all the intelligence agencies around the world are picturing this massive cyber war between nations, the reality was this. It was just one guy, at home, in his pajamas, munching on spicy corn chips and watching movies, while his computer scripts were systematically taking down an entire country's internet.
And you know what? It worked. The results were just undeniable. He'd go down the list of the country's few major websites. The state airline, Air Koryo, down. Their main government portal, Nanara, down. Their state-run news agency, totally offline. He had single-handedly unplugged an entire nation.
So, as these outages dragged on for days, the mystery just got deeper and deeper. A whole country's internet was flickering on and off, and literally nobody could figure out why.
Independent monitors were confirming a near-total blackout. Tech forums were just lighting up with all kinds of theories. A key government website might pop back online for a minute, only to crash again moments later. It was like someone was just toying with the regime. And all the while, P4X was just quietly watching the world's guessing game, probably enjoying the chaos he'd created.
But P4X was very, very clear about his motivation here. His goal was surgical. Since less than 1% of North Korea's population can even get on the global internet, these attacks almost exclusively hit the regime's propaganda and their ability to communicate with the outside world. He compared it to tearing down a dictator's billboards. It was a symbolic attack on the government, not the people.
So, after this incredible success, P4X decided this couldn't just be a one-time thing. He wanted to take his one-man operation and turn it into something bigger.
He actually set up a website on the dark web called the Funk Project. Funk being short for, well, FU North Korea. It was basically a recruitment platform, a call to arms for other hackers to join him and, as he put it, keep North Korea honest. He was literally trying to build a vigilante cyber army.
Now, the reaction from the cybersecurity community was, let's just say, complicated. Some people worried that his noisy attacks could mess up quiet, classified spy missions that actual intelligence agencies were running. Others pointed out the obvious. What he was doing was super illegal, and a lot of people were just genuinely scared for his safety, worried that the regime would eventually figure out who he was and come after him.
But P4X, he was completely unfazed. He argued that if the government wasn't going to protect its own citizens from these kinds of attacks, then somebody had to push back. For him, sending a message that Western researchers were not easy targets was worth every bit of the risk. And as he said, his conscience was clear.
And really, this whole story leaves us with a fascinating and kind of scary question. Was this a righteous act of justice for someone who the system had just forgotten? Or does this represent something much more dangerous? A new era of freelance cyber warfare, where anyone with a laptop and a grudge can decide to attack a nation, potentially sparking consequences that nobody can predict. It's definitely something worth thinking about.